Today, we're going to dive into the mind of one of history's greatest intellectual architects, Thomas Aquinas. This guy didn't just want to answer a few questions. He set out to build a complete, unified blueprint for reality itself.
Now, you might picture him as this, towering intellectual giant, but he wasn't always seen that way. In fact, he was famously underestimated. He was a big guy, pretty quiet, kind of kept to himself. So his fellow students, they actually called him the dumb ox. But his teacher, Albert the Great, he saw something else entirely. He famously shot back, "This dumb ox will bellow so loud that his bellowing will fill the world." And wow, was he right. It's just a great reminder, isn't it? Even the biggest minds have to start somewhere.
So let's dive into that. We're going to treat his whole system of thought like an architectural project, because that's really what it is. He's given us the blueprints, the foundational principles for a massive structure that connects everything, everything from a piece of wood on the ground all the way up to our ultimate purpose in life. See, Aquinas wasn't about just tackling one problem at a time. No, his life's work was about building a summa, which is basically a massive, comprehensive summary of everything. The goal? To explain the very fabric of reality. And to even begin to get our heads around that grand vision, we've got to start with his most basic tools.
Okay, so here's the core of his blueprint. To really get what Aquinas is doing, you have to understand how he explains one single thing: change. How does anything become something else? For him, every single change in the universe, a seed becoming a tree, water becoming ice, an idea popping into your head, it all follows one master principle.
And this is it. This is the master key right here. Everything that changes is just moving from a state of potentiality to a state of actuality. That's the whole game. Potentiality is what something could be. Actuality is what it is right now. So change? It's just the journey from could be to is. A cold cup of coffee is potentially hot. An acorn is potentially an oak tree. Simple, right? But it's so powerful.
Let's walk through his classic example. It really makes it click. Okay, you've got a block of wood. That wood is potentially hot, but it can't make itself hot, right? It needs something that is already actually hot, like a fire, to come along and act on it. Only then does the wood become actually hot. And the principle behind this is so simple, but it's absolutely crucial. You can't give what you don't have. Nothing can pull itself up by its own bootstraps, so to speak. It can't actualize its own potential.
So let's just nail down that first term, act, or actus in the Latin. This is just reality. It's existence. It's what's actually there. It's completion. So in our little example, the fire's heat is in a state of act. It's real. And the flip side of that coin is potency, or potentia. This is pure, unrealized potential. It's the capacity for something to become something else. It's the potential for heat that was always in the wood, just waiting for something to bring it out.
All right, so we've got our blueprint, act, and potency. Now it's time to lay the foundation for our building. And to do that, we need another absolutely critical distinction that Aquinas saw in, well, everything.
To get our heads around this next idea, let's talk about something that doesn't exist. Let's talk about a phoenix. We all know what a phoenix is, right? A big, beautiful bird that bursts into flames and is reborn from the ashes.
Here's the thing. You can perfectly understand its whatness, what Aquinas calls its essence. You can describe it, define it, list its properties, picture it perfectly in your mind. You know exactly what a phoenix is.
But does it actually exist? Out there, in the real world? See, that's a totally different question. Knowing what it is tells you precisely zero about if it is.
And that is one of Aquinas' most brilliant and profound insights. For every single thing in creation, a rock, a tree, a dog, you, me, there is a real fundamental difference between what it is, its essence, and the simple fact that it is, its existence. Its blueprint is not the same as its reality. Its whatness is not its thatness. Okay, we've got our blueprint, act and potency. We've got our foundation, essence and existence.
Now we get to see what Aquinas builds with them. He uses these tools to construct his famous arguments for God, building a logical bridge from the world we experience every day all the way up to its ultimate source. So let's take a look at his first argument, the one from motion. It goes like this. Step 1. We see things moving all the time, right? They're changing, going from potential to actual. Step 2. We already established that nothing can move itself. Something already in act has to cause that change. Step 3. Now, you can't have this chain of movers go back forever. Think about it like a train. You can have 100 train cars, but if they're all just being pulled by the car in front of them and that goes on forever, the train isn't going anywhere. You absolutely need an engine at the front that isn't being pulled by anything else. So, step 4. There must be a first mover, an unmoved mover that gets the whole chain reaction started without being moved by anything else.
And this is where it all comes together. For creatures, for everything we see, their essence is different from their existence. They get their existence from something else. They participate in being. But that first mover, it can't be like that. If its essence and existence were separate, then something else would have had to give it existence, and then it wouldn't be the first mover. Therefore, in this first mover, in God, and in God alone, essence is existence. They are the exact same thing. God doesn't just have being, God is being itself, pure act with zero potential left to be realized.
Okay, we have built this incredible, soaring intellectual structure. But so what? What does any of this have to do with us? Well, now we climb to the very top floor and look at the view. We're talking about our ultimate purpose. So if this is how reality works, if we're all just beings constantly moving from potential to actual, then what's our final destination? What is our ultimate fulfillment? What is real, deep, lasting happiness? Well, first Aquinas just clears the table of all the usual suspects. He says true lasting happiness, it can't be wealth. That's just a tool. It's not honor or fame, because that depends on what other people think. It's not power. You can use that for terrible things. And it's not bodily pleasure. That's temporary and only satisfies a tiny part of who we are.
So if it's none of those things, what's left? He argues that our ultimate purpose has to be linked to our highest, most unique human power, our intellect, our ability to know, to understand, to seek truth. So real happiness, it's the complete and total perfection of that power. And what is the highest possible thing our intellect could ever know? Well, it has to be the ultimate cause of everything, the source of all reality and truth, God. Aquinas calls this ultimate happiness the beatific vision. It's a direct, face-to-face, intellectual vision of the very essence of God. And for him, this is it. This is the only thing that could ever fully and finally satisfy the deep, restless craving of the human mind to know.
And that really is why we're still talking about Aquinas hundreds of years later. His entire project was this audacious attempt to build one single, unified system where everything fits, where everything has a place and a purpose. Which, in our modern world of scattered information and disconnected facts, leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. What is the value today of trying to find a single, coherent blueprint for all of reality?